Hello, everyone. This is Moxie with Squibbler, and today we are going to be talking about the publication journey, on publishing your books, the basics. So, this is an introductory guide to the world of publishing. It will not be the advanced session that we'll do later on, but it will give you a short introduction to what happens when you're ready to publish your book. So in this webinar, you're going to learn the methods of book publication. There are three traditional ways. And then you want to think about the importance of choosing the right avenue for your book. We'll talk about the pros and cons of each traditional way. And then we'll look at things to avoid in the publishing world as well. It's really important to avoid some mistakes that can cost you time and money. The most important thing, if you stop watching after this brief introduction, if you don't learn anything else, it's really important to remember from this webinar that in 99% of cases, you should never pay a penny to be represented by an agent, producer, or a publisher. This is an industry that has a lot of scam artists waiting and willing to separate you and your money. So be cautious and make sure you don't sign anything without having a lawyer review the contract. It is your work that you're putting out into the world, and you want to get the most out of your work. So be cautious. So there are more or less three steps in the publication of a book. The first step is the writer's journey from idea to manuscript. The second is the publishing process, and the third is design and production. We'll take a look at each one briefly. So step one, the idea to manuscript. If you're watching this webinar, you're already on step one of your book's journey, so congratulations. There are some things to keep in mind at this stage that will help ensure the success of your book's future. And I'll talk about these as well. One is reader expectations. It's generally assumed that you're writing in a genre that you like to read. So you're pretty much knowledgeable about what should be in that type of book. What do you expect, for example, from a thriller? What do you expect from a romance? Keep these things in mind as you're developing your manuscript. You also need to be aware of the acceptable word count for the genre. In other words, most fantasy books tend to be over 90,000 words. So if you're writing fantasy, publishers are going to want larger works. So that's something to look up for your genre as well. You also want to research books like yours. One way to do that is to look at Goodreads, a site like Goodreads, or look at bestseller looks and see what the top books are like. What are they writing about? What is the trend in that genre? And then you also want to read successful books like the one you're writing. And the good thing about this is it doesn't feel like work, especially if you enjoy that genre. So that's another good strategy. See what's selling now, what people are reading, and what the market is taking. Step two is the publishing process. And this process is going to vary depending on which of the three routes your book is going to take on the journey. But all of the publishing processes take revisions, proofreading, and line editing before publication. You do want to make sure that your book doesn't have big errors in it that discourage readers from buying it. It will turn readers off, especially if they're very savvy readers and they read a lot in that genre. If they come across mistakes early on, they're likely to put the book down and maybe give it a poor review. So we do have editing software these days that help us. We don't necessarily need to pay editors, but it's a very good idea to get feedback on your writing itself, preferably from someone who likes to read in the genre that you're writing. So if you're writing a romance, it might be good to let your friends who like romance be your beta readers. They can do some of the reading for you and give you feedback. So this is a good idea. Margaret Atwood, who wrote The Handmaid's Tale, says that she likes to get people like her protagonist to read her book as well, to get their feedback on how realistic her characters are. So that might be something to think about as well. The third step is design and production. As with step two, the design and production journeys are going to vary depending on which of the three journeys your book is going to take. Some of the rules do apply no matter which way you choose to have your book published, though. So you should research the cover designs that are popular in the genre you plan to self-publish. If you publish in the traditional route, and we take a look at that in just a minute, the publishers know what's selling. They know, and they have design teams that can tell them what kind of cover would be likely to sell for a crime novel. But if you're self-publishing, you may not have this knowledge, and you need to make sure you're aware of it. So go to a bookstore, see what's selling in your genre, what are on the front caps of the bookstores. And a lot of readers do select books based on this feature alone. They might look at a cover and think that it's interesting. Even though we were always told not to judge a book by its cover, we tend to. So there are three types of publication, three publishing avenues that I'm going to talk about in this webinar. There is traditional publishing, and those are large and small presses. There is self-publishing, and then there is hybrid publishing, which is relatively new. And we'll break down all three for you in this webinar so you can start to decide where you would like your book to go. So in the traditional publishing marketing, it's a billion-dollar industry, and it has a vast array of genres, formats, and distribution channels. And I was looking right before I did this webinar, just looking up to see what the biggest book deals are in, and a lot of it is in memoir and nonfiction. Those have made some of the biggest money. So if you're writing those genres, just know that they're very popular. Major players like Penguin Random House and HarperCollins are two of the biggest. And the market continues to change and evolve. And some of that is driven by technology, and some of it is by customer preferences. So although there is a challenge to traditional print publication from digital media, traditional print books still have a significant share of the market. People still like to go to bookstores. They like to go to libraries and check out books. And so while ebooks and audiobooks are steadily growing in popularity, readers still like hard copies as well. Traditional publication with a well-established publisher such as HarperCollins or Penguin Random House or Simon & Schuster, Macmillan, you should know this is extremely difficult to accomplish. And these publishers generally will not look at your work without agent representation. And that's to protect themselves too. They don't want to be accused of stealing someone's work. James Patterson says that his first book, which was eventually published by Little Brown and Company, was rejected an astonishing 31 times. So rejection, just know rejection is common with larger publication houses, and because they're looking at the market and at risk analysis. Do they want to take your book? Do they want to invest time in publishing it, marketing it, selling it? Is it worth putting there? So if you're not ready for rejection, bad news, this may not be the field for you, because this is one of those places with traditional publication that you will get rejection letters. So here are some of the pros of traditional publishing. You do get significant professional support. You have a team of people working for you and with you. So you get professional editorial, marketing, and design support. And this will really improve the quality of your book and the chances of success, because the publishing house is invested in you and your book. You also usually get an advance payment against future royalties. And this can help you cover the cost of living while you're writing and editing your book. Traditional publishing also can help with distribution in many ways. They have established distribution networks, including bookstores and libraries, which leads to higher visibility and higher sales. It's very difficult, if you self-publish, to get your book into, say, a brick and mortar Barnes & Noble. Traditional publishing also comes with credibility and prestige. Being published by one of these larger houses, or even some of their imprints, adds a level of credibility and prestige that can enhance the author's reputation. Having your book published the traditional way says that somebody believes enough in you to spend money on you. Marketing and publicity is also another pro of the traditional publishing route. There are often dedicated marketing teams assigned to an author that promote the book through various channels, helping it reach a larger audience. So they will do blog spots, they'll do radio spots, they'll help you set up your website. So this is all good support for you on your journey in the traditional publishing route. The other benefit, and this is why traditional publishing appeals to so many people, is that there are no upfront costs. The publisher is going to cover the cost of editing, design, printing, and distribution. So you as the author, you don't need to invest anything financially. But here are some of the cons. It is a long process to get published in the traditional route. The process of securing a publisher and editing and finally getting the book to market can take a long time, sometimes even years. So just be aware that it's not going to be that you sign a contract and then your book is published within a week. It takes a while. Some authors have reported that they lose creative control. You may have to compromise on certain creative aspects because publishers do have a say in the book's content. And again, this is because they are the ones putting their money on the line. So they will determine the title, the cover design, and marketing strategy. You do get some input, but ultimately it's up to them. You may get lower royalties. Because you typically get an advance, you get lower royalties in traditional publishing compared to self-publishing. And that's because the profits are also shared with the publisher. Rejection and competition is tough for a lot of people. If you read about writers, even older writers from the 19th century and early 20th century, a lot of them will talk about their rejections. So those are kind of fun to read. You're in good company if you've gotten rejected. It's very difficult to secure a traditional publishing deal, especially if you're new or unknown. Rejections are common and competition is very fierce. So just know that going in, and don't be too hurt if you don't get an automatic wow response about your book. You do often have limited rights, especially as a first-time author. You may have to give up foreign language rights or movie rights to the publisher. I know that author David Baldacci, who wrote Absolute Power, is now in a position where he does not sell his foreign rights when he sells a book. He holds on to those because I believe he gets more money from it that way. You also may have less flexibility. You have less flexibility regarding the book's release date, the pricing, and marketing strategy. So these are all things to keep in mind with the cons. We'll go into self-publishing next. Self-publication can take quite a few forms, but the most current popular platform, of course, is Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing, which accounts for about 90% of all self-published work. Amazon takes about 30 to 70% of your royalties from your book. Lulu's is another self-publishing platform, but it has a little bit of a difference. Unlike Amazon, they do charge a setup fee to publish your book, but they do not take royalties. So those are the big differences between the two. There are some other avenues of self-publishing if that's the route you would like to go. Apple Books also is available to you. Barnes & Noble has a self-publishing, as does Google Play and Publish Drive. All of these services offer different rates and royalties. So read the details carefully when you select a direct-to-market publisher. Ask other people who have used that platform if they're happy with the royalties that they're receiving. It's a good idea to look at the small print here. There is a warning here, of course, with self-publishing, and it goes with how we started this webinar. While there are legitimate reasons to pay for self-publishing with a reputable publisher, say Lulu's, for example, who charges you a setup fee, they are going to give you all of your royalties. But you need to be careful of any publisher offering you a contract and asking for money for printing. It's very exciting when someone wants to print your book, but you need to be cautious. Publishers who ask you for money to print are known as vanity printing, and they don't have the market of sites like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, etc. So where are they going to sell your book? They're going to take money from you, and you don't have any way of knowing what their reach is in the world of marketing. So these publishers often prey on people who want their books published. They're going to ask you for a sum of money, and you may never see your book published. So be very careful. Here are some pros of self-publishing, and then we'll look at the cons. You do have more creative control with self-publishing. You often have full control over the content, cover design, pricing, and marketing. You can make decisions about how your book is presented to the world. Everything from how the cover looks to how the layout is on the inside. Most self-publishers do offer higher royalties per sale because you don't have to share your profits with a publisher, especially with with Lulu's. There's faster publication. The process from your final manuscript to publication is much quicker than traditional publishing. Authors can publish their books almost as soon as they're ready without waiting for approval from a publisher. So that is something that is maybe a pro to you if you're writing something and you're competing with other people who are writing on a very timely topic. You can control the ownership of your rights, including foreign language, film, and audiobook rights, and this can translate to more money for you on the back end. You can have a direct connection with your readers as well with self-publishing. You can build your own audience and engage with them directly through social media and other platforms. You do have flexibility as well. Authors that self-publish can update their books at any time, whether it's correcting errors, adding new content, or changing the cover. And this is really useful for digital books. This is also very good if you're writing on a timely topic and new information comes out. You can always change it and edit your book. Here are some cons of self-publishing. Upfront costs. Some self-publishing requires the author to cover all costs, including editing, cover design, formatting, and marketing. So this can add up quickly. You might want to make a list for yourself of your costs and compare what those will be with different platforms. There are serious marketing challenges to self-publishing. Without a marketing team, authors have to manage their own marketing efforts. And this can be time-consuming and challenging, especially if you're not experienced in the field of marketing. There is a limited distribution with self-publishing. Self-published books may have a harder time getting into brick and mortar bookstores, as I said before, and libraries, which are more inclined to stock traditionally published books because those books have been vetted by an editorial team and they have the power of a publisher behind them. Perception and credibility can be a problem with self-publishing. Despite increasing acceptance of self-publication, self-published books may still face stigma or be perceived as lower quality than traditionally published books. So keep that in mind as well. It doesn't mean it's true. You may have written a brilliant book and you might want to self-publish it, but they are sometimes perceived as not being as good as traditionally published ones. You don't get as much professional support with self-publishing. Without a publishing house, authors don't have the access to professional editors, designers, and marketers unless you hire them independently. And then there's the time commitment. Self-publishing requires authors to handle many aspects of the publishing process themselves, from the editing to the marketing, and that can take time away from your writing, especially if you're working on your next book. So we're going to take a look at the third avenue, which is hybrid publishing next. So in hybrid publishing, both the publisher and author are going to share the cost of publishing and marketing the novel when the author writes. Because this arena is still relatively young, companies that fall under this rubric often have very differing and very confusing terms of contracts with their authors. So in response, the Independent Book Publishers Association has announced several criteria for what it considers legitimate hybrid publishers. And these are some things to watch for if you decide to go to this route. They want to know that the publisher has a clear vision. They want to know that the publisher vets submissions. In other words, they're not accepting every book that they get. They want to see that there's truth and transparency in the business practices of these independent hybrid publishers. They want to see that there are negotiable and easy to understand contracts. They want to see that there is publication under their own imprint and ISBN numbers. They want to see that their publication from these hybrid publishers is to industry standards, that it's just not, a sloppy mess of a book that's coming out. They want to see management of different publishing rights and distribution sales. They also want to see that these hybrid publishers have a tradition of respectable sales, that they aren't just, selling 2 books per year. And they want to see a payment of their authors to a higher than standard royalty. So these are all things that are important to the IBPA, and I encourage you to look this up on their website if you want more information. Here are some pros of hybrid publishing. You do get some professional support because they do offer some of the same services as traditional publishers, including editing, cover design, and marketing. And this can enhance the quality of the book. You can get higher royalties compared to traditional publishing because you're going to share the costs with the publisher. There is some creative control in many instances. The publisher is going to offer guidance, and the author is going to get more creative control over their content, cover design, and direction of the book compared to traditional publishing. There is often a quicker time to market. The process of publishing with the hybrid publisher is often quicker, allowing authors to get their books to market much faster. You might also want to look at the distribution networks of the hybrid publisher you're looking at. They often have established distribution channels, which can help get the books into bookstores, libraries, and online realtors. Authors with hybrid publishing often retain more rights to their work, including the ability to negotiate for foreign language, film, or other subsidiary rights. So if those sort of things are important to you, these are some of the benefits of hybrid publishing. Now we'll take a look at a few of the cons. There are upfront costs for hybrid publishing. You have to pay for the services that they are providing, which can be substantial. This financial investment is the key difference from traditional publishing, where the publisher is going to absorb all these costs. There is varied quality, so you have to be very careful and look at what else this hybrid publisher you're looking at is putting out. Some might not deliver the same level of quality or professionalism as top-tier publishers, so it's important to do your research here. Hybrid publishers also can offer marketing services, but the author may have to handle a lot of their marketing themselves or invest in additional marketing efforts. So make sure you read your contract carefully for marketing as well. There are perception issues with hybrid publishing. Just like self-publishing, hybrid publishing can carry a stigma, with some people viewing it as vanity publishing, and this can affect the book's credibility or your reputation as an author in certain circles. There are also profitability concerns. Because the author is investing upfront, the book has got to sell enough copies to cover the cost to be profitable. If the book doesn't perform well, you may end up losing money. And the last one is these complex contracts. Hybrid publishing contracts can be complex, and most of the publishers offer different terms in their contracts. So you need to carefully review and understand the contract to avoid unfavorable terms. It's a good idea to have someone in the legal field look over your contract. So here are some tips for your book's journey. And I have a worksheet for you all that we'll be uploading tomorrow onto Discord that will help you with this as well. So one of the first things that you want to do for your book is define your goals. What is it you're looking to achieve? Do you want widespread distribution? Do you want prestige? Do you want credibility? Or are you more focused on creative control and higher royalties? These do weigh against each other when you're a writer. Which one is most important to you, or which set is most important to you? Your goals here are going to guide your decision. The next one is your budget. Determine how much you're willing to invest. Traditional publishing with the big publishers and their imprints do not have upfront costs, but self-publishing and hybrid often require financial investment for services like editing, cover design, and marketing. So keep those in mind as well as you're deciding where your book is going to go. The next one is to evaluate your timeline. Consider how quickly you want to publish your book. Traditional publishing can take years, while self-publishing and hybrid publishing can offer much faster timelines. And again, if you're writing something where you're in competition to get your book to the market and it's a very timely topic, it may be beneficial to look at self-publishing and hybrid publishing. Number 4, consider your expertise. Reflect on your ability to manage the various aspects of publishing, like marketing, design, and editing. If you're confident in your skills, self-publishing can be appealing. If not, you might want the support of traditional or hybrid publishers. You also want to research the market, and you should have done this when you started your book, but this is just a reminder. Study your genre and audience. Some genres do better in traditional publishing because of the established networks they have, while others thrive in self-publishing, where niche audiences can be targeted directly. And this is where hybrid publishers can do very well with these niche audiences. The next one is to evaluate the creative control that you want. Decide how much control you want over the content, design, and marketing of your book. Traditional publishing offers you involves more compromises, and self-publishing can give you full control. Hybrid publishing is somewhat of a middle ground. There's a team of people that will help you, but you do have a lot of say. So these are all things to consider as well. The next tip is to understand the distribution channels. Consider how important it is for your book to be available in bookstores, libraries, and online platforms. Traditional publishers have established distributional channels, while self-publishing requires online platforms and print-on-demand services. So these are things to keep in mind as well. Where would you like your book to end up? You also want to look at royalties and earnings, if that's important to you. Compare the potential earnings from each method. Self-publishing offers higher royalties per sale, but traditional publishing might lead to more sales overall because of better distribution and marketing. You also want to think about the support setting. What's the level of support that you want during the publishing process? Traditional and hybrid publishing offer editorial, design, and marketing support, whereas self-publishing is going to require you to manage and outsource these tasks yourself. And that's going to take away from time that you have to work on your next project. The last tip is about your long-term goals. Think about how each publishing method is going to align with your long-term goals as an author. Traditional publishing can help build a reputation and network in the industry, while self-publishing might be better for those who want to build a personal brand and have more entrepreneurial control. We do have a publishing worksheet for you, and once this webinar is uploaded into the resources channel on Discord, you can also access a free worksheet to help you determine which publishing route is the best for your book. And I'll briefly show you what this looks like. So this is based on the steps that I gave you all, the 10 steps, where you're going to list your goals, your budget, your support level that you have already, your market and genre research, the expertise that you do have if you have some for self-publishing, your long-term goals, and then your timeline. So happy travels, writers, to you and your book. And in this webinar, we have reviewed methods of book publication, the importance of choosing the right avenue for your book, and things to avoid in the publishing world. Thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we'll see you next week. Bye.